And I just want to talk about the clear differences between wholesaling land versus houses. So with houses, obviously with real estate, typically how it's done is you go out and find the distressed seller, the ugly house, someone in need of needing to sell. Let's say you get them for $50,000, and then you go out and find a cash buyer who will pay $60,000, and you make the spread in the middle. Title will cut you a check for $10,000, right? Typically how it's done. Not with land, okay? Do not do this with land because it will not really reap you the results that you are looking for. Okay, with land, we flip the script. So instead of going out and finding the seller first, we go out and find the builder first. Like Matt said, I do my builder first strategy. I go out and find builders like DR Horton, Adams Homes, Lennar Homes. I go out and reach out to these builders and see, hey, I see you guys are building and needing some vacant lots. How can I supply these lots to you? Tell me what you need as far as where you're buying and how much you're paying, and I'll go out and supply that land for you. Okay, they should give you a nice thick list of markets that they're needing lots in, all of their buying criteria and their prices. You go out, let's just say they say, hey, Matt, we're buying land for $60,000 in Tampa. Anything in Tampa city limits, 10,000 square feet, we're buying for 60, okay? What you're gonna do is pull a list on DealMachine or Drive for Dollars in DealMachine, tap and add all the lots that are out there. Obviously skip trace it, text blast them, or however you feel like you need to market to them and make offers for less than what your builder is paying. Okay, so if your builder is paying 60, offer all those people $50,000, $55,000, whatever you want to offer. When you get that contract signed by the seller, you will then turn it obviously into title, and title will cut you a check. And then we do that multiple times. Okay. And that's how I work with builders. That's how I've been able to do 7 figures in my business. That's how I've had students be able to do 6, 7 figures in their business consistently over the last few years. So let's talk about the steps because this is really important. One of the things I do want to talk about is a lot of people say, oh, Dherby, there's not going to be enough land left. You guys, trust me, there is so much land left in the US that by the time we die, there's like, you could die 3 times. There's still going to be so much more land left in the US. Trust me. So don't sweat the fact that, there's not enough land left. There's so much opportunity out here. Okay. Okay. Market research. This is really important. I always talk about this. Please do not attempt to wholesale land just anywhere because you were raised or born there. That's not how it works. You need a wholesale land where you can find that people are in need of new construction, right? So you need to be in like the high growing metropolitan areas. If you're in Florida, I know Tampa has been like super booming. Cape Coral, Port St. Lucie, the Carolinas, Nashville, Tennessee has been growing like crazy. Phoenix, Arizona. There's a lot of markets now that are like everyone's moving there, right? Everyone's moving out of the bigger states, New York, California. They're moving out of these areas and coming down to these southern states because cost of living is a lot lower and they can get a lot more house for their buck, right? So this is where you need to shift your focus to. Don't just go in, your backyard just like everyone else does with wholesaling houses. It's not like that with land. So some filters that you can look up. I use Zillow. Zillow's a free option. It's really easy to source. And actually I can do a quick show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. On Zillow, if I go and do a quick filter, I'm going to just do Cape Coral, Florida, for example, because that's a really popular market right now. There's 2 things that I compare: the vacant land that has sold in the last 12 months versus the new construction that has sold in the last 12 months. So I'm going to do the land first to kind of give you an example. So I do sold because that's a guaranteed sale. I leave price and bed and bath alone. And I go to home type and I keep lots and land. Okay. And then I do sold in the last, instead of 30 days, let's do 12 months just to give you a nice focus on how much land has sold, right? So as you guys can see, in just one city, 3,300 plus vacant lots have sold. This is a market that you would want to be in because it's over a certain amount. Ideally, the number would be 800 or more. Okay, if you can find 800 or more vacant lots and 800 or more new construction homes, that would be a nice sweet spot to play around with. Okay, but if it's under 800, you're going to have a hard time really trying to find people who are in need of wanting to build. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with new construction. I leave it at sold. Home types, I do houses, lots and land. I'll take off, apply, and then I'll do new construction. So new construction would be year built 2023. and leave it at sold in the last 12 months. I click apply, and as you guys can see, over 800, which is 1750 for the results. And as you guys can see, this is a very lucrative market. There's a lot of activity. There's people clearly needing, new construction or building, right? So yeah, and then you kind of want to do this all over the US. You don't want to just do it in like obviously one city. You want to do this in all of the different areas, right? So if you see new construction, that's where you ideally want to be. And you want it to be, very lucrative as far as that goes. So if I'm in like random, let me just go random spot. Like Montgomery, right? If I'm in Montgomery, is this an ideal area that I would want to be in? In the chat, just go ahead and put yes or no. Would I want to be in Montgomery, Alabama? Because I have students that say, oh man, Dherby, I'm trying, this is not working. I don't have no builders out here. There's nobody building, right? There's nobody building out here. So would I waste my time here? Absolutely not. You want to go where the need is great, okay? You want to go where the need is great. So that's a great example to show you guys for new construction and land. Start where the need is great. So choose that market, narrow it down to 2 to 3, and then you guys can start calling builders, right? So let's talk about builders. Builders is really, really important, obviously, because it's a relationship thing. Let's go ahead and put in the chat what builders are you guys familiar with? What home builders have you guys heard of and you've seen? Maybe you guys built or bought new construction homes yourself. What builders are you guys familiar with? Okay, Ariel said Adams Homes. Vince said Lennar. Yep. DR Horton. Yep. KV. Yep. K-Hove. Pulte Homes, Lennar. Yes. So you guys are pretty familiar with a lot of the builders. These are things that you guys have to educate yourself on. All the big, the builders that are out here building new construction. Just to give you some informational context as far as builders go, the number one builder in the US is, not surprised, but DR Horton, right? DR Horton's the number one builder in the US. They closed on 72, almost 70, little over 71,000 homes. They brought in $21.5 billion in revenue and profited about $3 billion, okay? To follow that is Lennar. And then number 3 is Pulte Homes, and they have a ton of different derivatives of Pulte. Now, obviously that we've chosen our market, we got our market all squared away. Now let's talk about builders. Builders is definitely going to be your most difficult task, especially if you are an introvert. Please, you have to work on some maybe self-development and starting to get out of your shell, talk to people, really make that a part of your life, because that's all this is. You're connecting 2 people together. So qualified builders, what does that mean? Okay, we need to find qualified builders, not just any home builder, a qualified builder, which is a buyer or a home builder or end buyer who is open to working with you and giving you their buying criteria. Okay, so where they're buying and how much they're paying. So those are all of the 2 things you need. Where are these builders buying and how much are they paying? Once you have those 2 things, you can go to town and go on DealMachine, drive for dollars in those markets, pull a list on PropStream, PropWire, whatever you want to pull a list. And you want to go ahead and start marketing for those builders to supply them the land they need. Okay. Finding builders should be a part of your business consistently. Just because you have 2 or 3 builders doesn't mean you should stop. You should constantly always build that builders list. And it's okay to follow up with builders if they don't reply to your initial point of contact. Okay. Because they're busy. They're very, very busy trying to meet quota every month. Okay. So one of the best ways to finding home builders, you're probably like, okay, Dherby, how do I find home builders? Like, just tell me what I need to do, right? So you need to go to google.com, okay? You're going to type in the city name and then home builders out, or home builders in San Antonio, Texas, home builders in Tampa, Florida, home builders in whatever state, city, whatever you want to be in, right? So if you go to more businesses down here, I'm going to click that. And as you guys can see, I always skip the sponsored post, but I scroll down and I am going to call all of these builders, okay? These are all the builders I'm going to call. These are them right here, the people that are actually going to be buying, okay? One thing I do recommend is try to avoid calling custom home builders, okay? You see how they have the word custom home or custom builders in the description. A lot of the times, custom home builders won't buy land. They typically build on their clients' lots and build something custom. Okay, so just avoid that. But yeah, you guys, this is the main way of finding home builders, people that are actually buying. Now, if I were to call a home builder right now, this is how the conversation would go. Okay. Thank you for calling DR Horton. This is Julie speaking. How may I help you? Hey, Julie, I just had a quick question. Are you guys buying any vacant lots at the moment? Okay. If she says no, just go ahead and notate that and put that down in your CRM, your Excel sheet, wherever you want to put it. Okay. If they say yes, we're absolutely always buying land, right? Okay, great. Do you have a land acquisition specialist that handles that? If so, what's their email? Okay, what did I say? The land acquisition specialist. Write that down. This is very important. Your land acquisition specialist is the one that acquires land for the company. That's their sole job. You'll find that job rotating out and that people shift out of that position a lot because they don't hit quota. Okay, so if you don't hit quota, they move you to another department. So don't get too comfortable with them. But yes, the land acquisition specialist does purchase all the land. Okay. Now, once you get that land acquisitions, if they say, yeah, we have a land acquisition specialist, here's his email, write their name down, get their email, and you're going to send them an email. Okay. You're not going to say, can I speak with them? Right. You're only going to ask to get their email. The reason why I say email only is because these guys are really busy, right? They don't know who you are. You can't just really call them out the blue and ask them a ton of questions and grill them on their criteria. They're more than likely not going to want to answer those questions. Okay, so sending them an email is the best form, and you can get very detailed information through email. Okay, so email only. Now let's talk about hitting numbers, because everyone knows real estate is a numbers game, right? So how many builders should I be calling, Dherby? You should call a minimum of 50 builders a day. 50 builders a day for the next 5 business days minimum. Okay, you guys can go a couple weeks by just calling builders and just really try to grind in and get that criteria through email, obviously. And then your goal is to try to get those qualified builders, right? A minimum of 7 to 10 qualified builders in each market to really see those results. Now, if you can't hit that, you need to call more builders until you get 7 to 10 qualified builders, because you don't want to catch yourself getting criteria from one builder and then you're stuck working for them, right? You need to have options. And then make sure you keep track of all your builders that you spoke with, like in an Excel sheet or in your CRM. Now, marketing to sellers is the next thing, which is pretty simple. Obviously, now that you've gotten criteria, go out and start pulling a list and driving for dollars and getting all the people in that area. Once you do that, people always ask me, Dherby, what do I offer? I don't even know how to comp land. Remember, once we get the price from the builder, we're going to offer less than what our builder is paying. Okay, if your builder is paying 70, you offer 60. You can offer, 65 if you're okay with making $5,000. That's fine. I've made $1,000, right? A win is a win. So offer less than what your builder is paying. And then your negotiation skills has to be obviously on point, because you're going to have to negotiate instead of going in person like you do with houses. You have to do this virtually. So a lot of texting or cold calling. Okay. And here are some of the best ways of marketing for land is text blasting. Text blasting is number one. Cold calling absolutely is another great way. Sending out mailers, and then just manually cold calling if you don't have a dialer. Okay, you must market consistently. And then my last step is automations and scaling, right? It's really, really important to make sure that you are tracking your SOPs. You guys know what SOPs is, which are standard operating procedures. Make sure you're tracking exactly what you're doing from start to finish in your business. Now, with wholesaling land, there's 3 departments: acquisition, okay, that's talking to sellers; disposition, finding builders; and then admin is like pulling lists, skip tracing, all the little repetitive tasks, right? That should be the first thing that you automate. And then your CRM, make sure that you guys have one. Your CRM is going to be helping you stay organized, keep track of all your goals, see your numbers, where you can make improvements, and then obviously track your KPIs.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.